What are your
Mr.
thoughts?
Chairman, I don't know about a forensic audit, but there are ways that people can take the data and put it into their own, open source code tabulation system to verify that the votes were what they were supposed to be.
As a professor I was talking to a few days ago said that he was using the Maine 2nd District election stuff, and because of how he couldn't get all the data from them, that he had to basically make it up on his own based on the de-identified voter data he was able to get, and said it was rather complicated trying to get to that point. So it's just this is a follow-up for if this if there was one, can we do it? It sounds like maybe, but rather complicated, and I'm curious if we have the information to actually do that if it was to come about.
Mr. Chairman, like I mentioned before, I'm not an expert on what even a forensic audit would entail, but I can tell you that there are ways to validate the ranked choice voting software with open source software modules that are available.
Okay, that's something we can talk about another time, open source, because I think that's something we probably should do, is publish this so people see it, and there's no question whatsoever, and that's transparent, and that's perfect, and then that takes care of that. Senator Rambold?
This is not a rabbit hole. This is a dumpster dive. So just to echo what Senator Holland is saying, I think it's really, really actually very, very important. I think being able to, for the people to understand the Dominion machines, they don't have a lot of trust in them right now. So having the software and the Dominion machines, I think, is going to be critical. So, Mr. Chairman, I would definitely think, talking about the software, because we have to have the support and the trust of the people. And right now, because there never was a forensic audit, you should be able to get that concern out of their mind. And it's across the country. It's not just in Alaska, but I think there's 300 machines. I think talking about software and the machines and voter security, safety, cybersecurity, I think is going to be of critical importance in state affairs. So thank you for bringing this up. This has been absolutely fascinating industry, interesting today. And I thank you for the good speakers and the balance you brought to the table.
We can bring that up another time, Director. We can talk and email and figure it out. So I know you had 2 more slides. We'll try to finish them. We got 7 minutes left. So if we can go through them.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next ones are about tabulation, and this isn't just something easy to explain, but this just gives you a rough idea. We have 4 candidates here, 20 total votes. According to ranked choice voting, it takes 11 votes to win. In round 1, no candidate achieved the 50% plus 1. So then we would move on to round 2, which you can see above. Candidate 3 had the least number of votes, so that candidate is eliminated, and those 3 votes are redistributed to the remaining candidates, or retabulated to the, not very good at this.
So discuss how they each get 1 so that people know why does that happen?
We just picked that number. This is just an example. It doesn't mean that, it's just that there were 3 votes for candidate C, and in our example, we're to say, we just made it up and said A gets 1, B gets 1, and D gets 1.
But if that was to happen with different numbers, it would be because of how the choices were there that you would tabulate. I'm trying to get it out so people understand why they were distributed that way.
It's the second choice votes for the ballots where candidate C was marked the first choice.
There you go. That's what I wanted to make sure people understand. Why does it show that second round? Okay.
And then here's
I'm sorry. Senator Costello had a question on round 1.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful to explain fully what happens in the round 2 rather than just say the candidate with the fewest votes gets eliminated, because that's not necessarily the full picture.
Right.
People who voted that candidate as their first choice, their second choices get redistributed as first choices. This chart makes it seem like you don't have a winner until round 3. You could have a winner in round 1 or 2. And so I think that makes sense to people if they understand it's not just eliminating a candidate in round 2, it's eliminating the candidate with the fewest votes. The people who chose that candidate, now their second votes get redistributed as first votes.
And point taken, Senator Costello, and that's exactly what this says here, and I just spoke a little too quickly without getting those words out of my mouth. So apologize for that.
But it would be possible in her case there, if let's say that the third person that was eliminated, all of the first choice votes for them went to the first person, they could actually end up with 10 votes out of this, yes, and they could win.
Chairman.
Right? Okay. This is
just
trying to show the difference.
An example we made. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible
to
show that it needed more than 2 rounds.
And they need 11 votes to win.
Yeah,
just to clarify that.
Yes. And so round 2, no candidate still received the 50% plus 1, so then round 3 has to happen. And as you can see by this example, candidate D received 5 votes. So then the third choice on the ballots for candidate D are now going to be added to the totals for the 2 remaining candidates, A and B. And in this example, 4 of those third choices went to candidate B and 1 went to candidate A. Therefore, candidate B becomes the winner with 11 votes.
Once again, crystal clear. And this is different from somebody filling out the ballot. I get it. And the tabulation of it. But when you get to trying to explain it and how this works and strategy and other things, this is not, anyways, please continue.
So this is just a little slide to kind of let folks know what to expect on how we're going to count or when we're counting. So on election night, we are going to count first choice votes and report first choice votes. That will include some early votes, precinct votes, and some absentee by mail votes that have come in and been reviewed and are deemed appropriate for counting by the board. Then we will continue to count, as we always have, absentee and question ballots up through day 15. And every night we count, we will then release a new round of unofficial votes for first choice votes only.
Okay.
We made a collective decision at the division, because this is the first time we've ever done this, to not do tabulations during this middle period of time here, because we felt it would be very confusing to explain to the public what is happening. Because there could be the situation, Susie gets eliminated after round 1, but then as we count more ballots that come in, Susie could actually get back in the race and Joe could be out. So we made the decision that on November 23rd, when the last eligible absentee and question ballot is counted, we will then look at the unofficial results and determine what races require the ranked choice voting tabulation to take place if no candidate has received 50% plus 1. And that tabulation will then take place. We will be posting results on our website showing each round what happened with that race, what candidates were eliminated, and where those votes went to the next candidate. And again, those will be unofficial numbers until the State Review Board comes in and does their certification of the election, which approximately takes about a week.
Frankly, before the first question, Director, is why would we even run the first round? Because quite frankly, you could come out with a different result from November 8th to November 23rd. Like you said, it could change. So shouldn't we collect all of these before we run the tabulation, so we're not putting out information and causing more confusion and consternation and all kinds of other issues?
Well,
I know it was a choice, but I'm asking because it seems like instead of putting out something and knowing that could change on us later as absentees come in, why don't we wait until the very end? And that's a delay and another maybe downfall of it. Oh, well, but why do we want to put out a result knowing it may change?
Well, Mr. Chairman, that happens now when we count. I mean, we count on election night, and then as we count absentee and question ballots, results do change. And so the division felt it's best just to continue that practice. So that part of election reporting, result reporting, is not changed as a result of this. Ballot measure 2 did not change how any of the deadlines happen or anything. And so we just thought it'd be best to continue that practice. At least people know, here's where everybody stands on election night, and here's where people stand. You'll know who your top candidates are. Well, you'll know who got the first choice votes. You'll know who, you'll know that information. But what we don't know, because we just felt it was important to continue to release that information so people understand we're still counting, we're not hiding anything, we want to get information out. And then on November 23rd, the tabulation rounds don't take any time at all to get done, but we will be posting, like I said, each round's results on our website so people can
I guess my point, Director, is I understand that's the way it's been done, but if we're supposed to make it better, maybe we don't want to do that, and maybe the answer should be we just give one answer when it's all done, and because this is an opinion, nothing more than that, but it seems like if we have a chance to make it better, because that's the intent of this, then why don't we not do that? And I would also argue, based on the data I've seen from some of the other studies, I don't think we're going to see things quite like this. Because there's been a lot of changes that we don't normally see to the extent we're apparently seeing with ranked choice voting across the country in that study that we looked at. So I think we may be setting ourselves up here for trouble, but that remains to be seen. I'll leave it. That's an opinion. It's where we are right now. Senator Holland had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You went right where I was curious about why are we even doing the initial count, and I could imagine why. It's we already have a bad rap for not being able to get election results out in less than 2 weeks, and there is some immediate gratification. People want an initial idea of how the election's going, but I just don't know that there's a reason why to do it if it's taken us 2 weeks and a day to come up with maybe the final answer. So thank you.
Okay, and Senator Costello had a question I know as well.
Thank you. And my question is for the individual from Maine. So you're the only other state that has ranked choice voting in statewide elections. How many days do the voters wait before the election results are final?
It's taken a week or a little over a week in previous. Excuse me, this is Nick Murray from Maine Policy Institute. From my recollection, it's taken about a week or up to 10 days, I believe, to get that final tabulation result in the races that it kicked in.
And a follow-up, Mr. Chair. So based on what you see that Alaska is planning, how could we get closer to 10 days versus 2 weeks? I mean, what's happening different in Maine is have you picked a date where you're a date certain where you're going to say we're going to do the results on this date, and so there's an expectation to have to wait that long? Or is there a way that we can speed this up? I mean, this is all computer counting. Why couldn't we get those results the first night? And the voters, as far as the voters not being confused, I think we're already confusing them. I think they understand the ranking, and so they should understand that it's actually possible for somebody to be ahead on that first round and not win the election. And I think transparency and honesty is actually valuable. I mean, this is the system that Alaskans voted for, and this is the system. So could you comment on that, please?
Sure. This is Nick Murray. I think you would have logistically. I think you want to get all of the voter data centralized as quickly and securely as possible. And I understand, we have some remote communities here in Maine, but I understand, the remote communities in Alaska is a different level. And we are talking about a sort of Excel spreadsheet of voter data, which every voter's ballot is a column per race, and the rows are how that voter ranked that data. So, we contract with private couriers to ship by flash drive, by physical courier, to take the flash drive of voter data to the state capitol. So under the Secretary of State's purview, the tabulation for ranked choice voting can occur. So it's really how quickly and securely you can get that data there. I imagine you probably want to avoid something like electronic transfer to move the ballot data, but that's a question I suppose for the state's risk profile. But yeah, long and short of it is how quickly and securely can you get it to the central place? I could see it taking 2 weeks for a large state to get it to that point. But I think to Senator Schauer and Senator Holland's point, you sort of need to run that tabulation with everything in one place. Or else things could change if more ballot data comes in later.
Yes. So in Maine, do you double check the United States Postal Service change of address requests, and do you also verify voter signatures in that 10-day window?
I believe so. That is only for those mail-in ballots, the signature. But as far as I understand, I do believe they run it against the change of address form, and you can receive a ballot up till the end of the day on election day here.
Good. Director, I know you had a response to that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. So Alaska law allows by-mail ballots to be received up to for 15 days following the election. So your final ranked choice tabulation couldn't be done until that point in time anyway. And also, in order to do ranked choice voting, the ballots have to be scanned. They all have to be scanned on the scanner in order to capture that cast vote record. And as you know, we have 130 plus hand count precincts. So those ballots already come back to the director's office in Juneau to be used and reviewed, and the state review board does their audit. So all those ballots are going to come back, have to be scanned in order to capture that the cast vote record. It's actually a picture. It's a grid of the ballot itself. And then those CVRs, the cast vote records, are what are used then in the ranked choice voting algorithm tabulation software. So until we get all those ballots back in, you can't even do the full ranked choice voting tabulation until all the ballots have been scanned.
Okay, thank you. Senator Kawasaki, I know then Senator Holland and Costello all had a question or a comment.
I know we're at the top of the hour, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. I just wanted to sort of make a request that, we were talking about how we make sure that voters are informed in the upcoming election. We know there was money that was set aside specifically for the Division of Elections for Education and Outreach. So I would just like to know how that's going. And this isn't obviously the Finance Committee or the Budget Committee, but making sure that folks do realize there's a new election cycle. How is this going to be operated, and give us some assurity that the division actually gets that work done. So this is for a request for at the
The
later.
follow-up post-committee with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Director. Thank
Do
you.
that.
Thanks, Senator Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank the director. I actually learned a bit today. I appreciate it. I had concrete answers to some questions I had, and not that you were evasive or anything. It's just like there was a few questions that actually just jumped right out at me. Answers that jumped right out at me. I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.